And everybody's entitled to their own strategy, their own investment strategy. But the way that we look at it is that it depends. We don't have any set hard rules on if it's this, then it's that. It all depends. It depends on the market, depends on a lot of things that we take into account when we're evaluating a deal as to what the strategy is going to be. So, we're actually going to cover the 4 qualifications that we use to qualify them for any one of these strategies and what makes the most sense. Now, keep in mind, all of this is assuming that you can afford to buy or flip or you can afford to keep as a rental, right? If you don't have financing, if you don't have the money, if you don't have any of that, then all of this is kind of irrelevant. But assuming that you can afford to keep it and that those are an option, then this episode's for you. So, qualification number 1 is market opportunity. So, when we're analyzing a deal and it makes sense both as a rental and as a flip, we are looking what is the current market doing, right? Is there appreciation in this area? Are prices falling? Are they staying flat? Is the market hot? Is it cold? Are there better opportunities in other parts of the market? The reason we take a look at all of these scenarios is because it's going to really matter whether we actually want to keep it as a flip or we want to go ahead and keep it as a rental. If we see that right now, if we see that that area perhaps is not appreciating as much, right? It's not as hot of an area. We don't see much of a future growth in that area. We may not want to keep it as a rental because in that point, I mean, while rentals are great for cash flow, where we are in our business cycle as well as in the cycle of San Antonio, appreciation is a very big play. So to not be able to capture that appreciation doesn't always make a lot of sense. Also, again, with market opportunity, is we look at, what's the speed of the market? What is the market asking for? What is the market doing? I mean, we've had other properties that we could have go ahead and flip, but the market was moving so slowly and there wasn't that much of a margin to flip it that we decided to just go ahead and keep it as a rental, hold it for a year or so, and then we'll turn around and sell it for a bigger profit margin. So while we did a combination in that sense of the two, where we kept it as a rental, but then went ahead and flipped it anyway. So the rehab that we did was a flip quality rehab because we knew we were going to sell it in a year or so, right? So the market dictates a lot whether we're going to keep it or we're going to sell it. So if the market is really, really hot, like it is right now, and properties are moving really, really fast, we might take an advantage of that and actually, perhaps flip more than anything else. Or we might take advantage of that and depending on where the property is actually located, what side of town, we might keep it because the appreciation is going to be so drastic. So again, the market is what's going to dictate it. And like I said, at the end of this, I'm going to share with you the 3 scenarios and show you exactly how each one of these opportunities played a role in us deciding what we were going to do with those deals. Another opportunity we look at is systems opportunity. Is there an opportunity to build systems? So what do I mean by this is when we started rehabbing, we were building out a rehab system. This meant, how are we managing the rehabs? How are we hiring contractors? How are we sourcing our materials? How are we managing the money? How are we managing all of these things? So what we wanted to do is take on more and more rehabs so we can filter, narrow, tweak, and work those systems out so we could perfect these systems. And what that did for us is that it took us to a point where we are able to renovate 8 to 12 properties at the same time without much issues. Yes, it's a lot of work, but there aren't any issues that can actually cost us money. It's just a lot of work. But the systems are in place to take care of that. And the same with rentals. You say, I don't have a system for managing tenants, for managing, the tenant intake when they're submitting leases and all that. What's my system look like for that? Am I giving them a welcome packet of what the expectations are, changing out filters, managing the property, taking care of this? If there's an issue, here's a number you call. If you don't have those systems in place, then maybe the opportunity, if it's apples to apples, whether, hey, I could flip it or I could keep it as a rental, but if I keep it as a rental, I'm able to perfect the system that I really need, then that weighs heavily, right? That's going to weigh a lot heavier than just doing a simple flip that you've done a bunch of times. So we try to look at, is there a system in place that we have that we need to tweak, perfect, or grow before we actually make a decision on what we're going to do with this property? And if you live in the San Antonio area, just like I said, text property tour to 210-794-9898. And every time I go to one of our properties and we go check out a new deal, whatever it is, I will send out a text blast to you and you will be notified and you can come and hang out with us. Go check out the properties, ask questions, see what we're seeing, and see the whole process firsthand, real life, get real life experience. So remember, text property tour 210-794-9898. Now let's look at partner opportunities. So again, same scenario. You can flip the house or you can keep it as a rental. Number makes sense for both. Another opportunity we look at is there a potential partnership opportunity that we can build on in this deal? And partnership could be, with an investor. It could be with maybe a wholesaler for us. It could be perhaps with a contractor. It could be a lot of things, right? So is there a partner opportunity that we can work on and take advantage of this deal in order to make this a lot more fruitful than just the profit? There have been many times that we get a deal that comes across of when we got into the new build space and all of that, of things that we weren't too comfortable with, we weren't too familiar with, but there were a partnership opportunity that we were able to partner with somebody that was familiar, that did understand the process. So it's like, all right, well, this isn't really perhaps profit wise the profits that we tend to look for, but the partnership, the education that's going to come out of this is going to be substantial. Because then now next time we have an opportunity, which is what's happening now, we have an opportunity to buy a lot and build. We already took that partnership opportunity. We learned the process. We learned everything. So now we can actually take this house out on ourselves and go ahead and build the house ourselves. And we've done this every step of the way. We've done deals where we've left money on the table just to learn a new strategy with a new partner. So there's a new partnership opportunity. There's somebody that we want to work with. There's a new strategy we want to learn. Maybe there's some new contractors we want to work with. So we might take on a deal that's like, yeah, we can do this, but right now that this opportunity that we have to maybe test out this person, this strategy, this situation is much more valuable, because you got to think long term. What is going to give me the knowledge and experience to keep this business rolling as time goes on? Another opportunity is business opportunity. And what do I mean by business opportunity? Is there an opportunity that this deal can provide you to further grow and scale your business? So maybe, again, it makes sense to keep as a rental and to flip. But if you flip it, you're going to get a huge influx of cash, which might help you execute some systems and some other things that you needed in your business. Right? Maybe it's going to allow you to hire some people. Maybe it's going to allow you to buy that software that you needed to manage your rentals or your rehabs or whatever it may be. So that influx of cash, even though, maybe you want the rental, but that influx of cash is actually going to help you and build out your systems and your processes better. So then your business can become that much more stronger, much more powerful. Another thing for business is maybe you want more predictable cash flow. So then a rental makes more sense. Maybe you had a hell of a year and you need some tax deductions, right? So you want to hold on to that property so you get some tax deductions, some depreciation, some help along that line. Because if you flip all your properties, you're not really ever getting the tax advantages that are available when you hold real estate. The whole purpose of investing in real estate, right? So you got to look business-wise. This property, where does it make the most sense? Does it make more sense for cash flow? Does it make more sense for a big influx of cash, because then I can deploy it in these areas? Now, there is a bonus opportunity that we also take into account, which is the property itself. Now, what do I mean by the property itself? Well, if the property doesn't need a lot of work right now and you are buying it with those numbers in mind, there's a risk if you keep it as a rental that as you hold the property, more and more things are going to go breaking on it. So your capex or your expenditures, everything that you're going to put will go up, right? Because it's a house that's probably a little bit older and you're not replacing a lot of things. So you got to keep that in mind where depending on the location of the house, the year of the house, there's times that we look at them and we say, "Yes, this house is clean, but if we are to keep it, then the AC might become an issue down the road, a year or so down the road. The roof, maybe the kitchen, the plumbing, this or that. So you got to evaluate. Even though it makes sense as a rental right now, will it still make sense a year or two down the road when these things start breaking and start costing real money and eating into that cash flow? Another thing is that we look at a property when we are debating something and we take on a project that is a massive renovation. Those we typically like to keep as rentals because once, going back to the earlier point, once we've spent that level of money renovating a house, what really can go wrong? Right? So we put everything brand new. Everything's under warranty. Everything's brand new. So now we know that at least for the next 5 to 10 years, there's probably not much that needs to be done to that house. So it becomes one of those very easy rentals to manage because not much is going to break. It's just keep the tenant happy at that point. So we're taking a look at that property. We're taking a look at the conditions. How much work are we doing to that house? Where's it going to be when it's all said and done? The location of the property is in an area that is going to create more appeal to problem tenants, right? Versus anything else is in an area that's in a transition phase. All of those things, even though the numbers make sense, it may not be something that we want to deal with long term, right? So you want to keep that in mind is what is the opportunity of the property?